The stars lit up with the fire of battle. Energy blasts flashed through the void as 6 sleek Varkeen warships circled the Dauntless like predators. Their ships were works of art, shiny, fast, and heavily armed. The Dauntless, by comparison, looked like a floating junkyard. Its armor was mismatched, its hull burned from old battles, and its engines groaned like tired beasts. But on the bridge, Captain Mira Holt wasn't afraid. "Evasive pattern, Delta," she ordered calmly. Jax grinned and slammed the controls forward. "Hold on tight." The Dauntless spun and twisted through space, dodging glowing plasma shots that streaked past like angry comets. The hull shook, sparks flew from the panels, but the crew didn't panic. They had been through worse. Raffi shouted from the engineering console. "Captain, shields are holding, but not for long. We can't take direct hits from all 6. "Then don't let them hit us," Mira said. "Aisha, status on our weapons?" Dr. Isha Verma looked up from her console. "Main cannon is charged, but power is low. The mining laser modification is still unstable." Mira smiled faintly. "Then it's perfect." The Varkeen ships moved with machine-like precision, their attack patterns flawless. They expected the humans to run, maybe even surrender. No one in the galaxy ever fought the Varkeen head-on and survived. But the Dauntless wasn't just any ship. It was a human ship. "Jax," Mira said. "Bring us under their formation. Let's make them work for it." Jax nodded, pulling the ship into a steep dive. The Dauntless slipped between the Varkeen formation, engines roaring. Bright plasma bolts streaked past, but none found their mark. "Fire mining laser," Mira commanded. A beam of bright orange light cut through space. It wasn't elegant or advanced like alien weapons. It was raw, improvised human ingenuity. The beam struck one of the Varkeen ships directly across its side, melting armor and exposing inner systems. "Direct hit," Aisha shouted. The Varkeen captain's voice roared over the comms, full of disbelief. "That was a mining tool. How?" Mira didn't answer. Humans didn't waste time bragging in battle, they acted. "Target the engines of the next one," Mira said quickly. "Short bursts. Don't drain the core." Raffi was already rerouting power. "On it, Captain." "But the reactor's running hot." "Keep it alive, Raffi," she said. "We'll need it." For 10 long minutes, the Dauntless danced between enemy fire. Every move was risky, every second a gamble. The ship shook with each near miss, but it kept flying. Jax gritted his teeth as he swung the ship sideways. "They're adapting, Captain. They're predicting our turns." "Good," Mira said. "That means they're watching. Let's show them something new." She turned to Raffi. "Remember that old thruster trick you showed me back in training?" Raffi blinked. "The reverse flip burn maneuver?" "That one?" "The same. That could tear the ship apart. Or it could win us the fight," Mira said simply. Raffi sighed, smiling despite the danger. "You really like breaking physics, don't you?" "Only when it helps." The Dauntless flew straight toward the largest Varkeen cruiser. To the enemy, it looked like suicide. The cruiser's captain smirked. "End them." Dozens of plasma bolts erupted from the Varkeen ship, forming a wall of light. But just before impact, Jack shouted, "Now!" Raffi triggered the engines to full reverse. The ship flipped backward, thrusters firing in opposite directions, throwing everyone forward against their straps. The plasma bolts passed harmlessly in front of them, and the Dauntless spun 180 degrees mid-flight. "Fire main cannon," Mira yelled. The cannon fired with a thunderous blast. A glowing projectile shot from the ship's nose and slammed into the Varkeen cruiser's forward shields. The explosion was massive. The cruiser's shields flickered and died, its hull smoking. The Dauntless shot upward, escaping the debris field. On the bridge, everyone was breathing hard. Raffi wiped sweat from his brow. "We're still in one piece." "Barely," Isha said. "Hull temperature's critical and the reactor's close to redline." Mira nodded. "Then let's end this fast." The remaining Varkeen ships regrouped, forming a tight circle around the Dauntless. They began firing in perfect sequence. Their shots coordinated like a deadly rhythm. The small human ship took hits this time. Shields flickered, alarms blared. "Shield grid 3 is gone," Raffi shouted. "We've got a hull breach in Section 7. "Seal it and reroute power from life support to weapons," Mira ordered. "That'll drop oxygen levels." "Then hold your breath," she said. Her voice was calm, steady. The crew trusted her completely. Jax twisted the ship through another wave of fire. The Dauntless rolled and banked, the hull glowing from heat. A Varkeen ship moved in too close, thinking it had an easy shot. "Raffi, vent the cargo bay," Mira said suddenly. "What?" "That'll throw out half our supplies." Do it. Raffi hit the control and the cargo bay doors blew open. Crates and metal shards flew into space, right into the Varkeen ship's path. The alien ship's shields flared as debris struck it from all sides. Now, Jax, spin and fire rear thrusters. The Dauntless twisted again, its rear engines blasting directly at the Varkeen ship. The hot plasma from its exhaust melted part of the alien hull. The enemy ship spun out of control. Jax laughed. We just beat them with garbage and hot air. Human style, Raffi said with pride. But it wasn't over. The last two Varkeen ships moved in, weapons glowing. They fired together, their combined blast slamming into the Dauntless. The entire ship shook violently. Shields down, Aisha cried. Reactors failing. Sparks flew across the bridge. The lights dimmed, and for a moment everything was silent except the soft hum of the dying engines. Mira stood in the flickering light. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with determination. We're not done yet. She turned to Raffi. You still have that overcharged plasma coil? The one that could blow up the whole ship? That's the one. Raffi hesitated only for a second, then nodded. It's in the maintenance bay. Good, reroute power to it. We'll use it as an EMP pulse. Isha looked shocked. That could knock out everything, including us. Mira smiled faintly. Only if we stay too close, Jax grinned. You want to bait them in? Exactly. Let them think we're crippled. The Dauntless drifted dark and silent. The Varkeen ships approached slowly, confident the human vessel was finished. One of them sent a signal. Surrender and we will spare your crew. Mira didn't answer. The alien ships came closer, closer still. Their scanners showed minimal energy readings. The humans seemed defeated. Inside the Dauntless, the crew waited. Every light was off, every system on standby. Raffi's hand hovered over the activation switch. Now, he whispered. Wait, Mira said softly, watching the radar. Closer. The Varkeen ships moved in range, their weapons charged, ready for the final shot. Now, Mira said. Raffi slammed the button. A brilliant wave of blue light exploded from the Dauntless, spreading in all directions. The energy pulse tore through space, washing over the Varkeen ships. Their systems flickered, then went completely dark. EMP successful, Raffi shouted. Their ships are dead. Engines online, Mira said. Let's show them what scrap can do. Jax powered the engines, and the Dauntless shot forward like a spear of light. With their systems disabled, the Varkeen ships couldn't move. The Dauntless fired 2 precise shots, hitting their weapon cores. The explosions were bright and silent in the vacuum of space. The battle was over. For a moment, the crew sat in silence. Then cheers filled the bridge. Raffi pumped his fist. We did it. We actually beat them. Jax laughed. The galaxy's best warships defeated by a pile of junk. Aisha smiled. No, not junk. Human engineering. Mira didn't speak right away. She looked out the window, watching the wreckage drift through the stars. Finally, she said quietly, They thought they gave us scrap, but we made it a legend. When the convoy finally reached the border, the Dauntless led the way, scarred, battered, but victorious. The other captains saluted as they passed, eyes filled with new respect. For the first time, humans were no longer seen as weak newcomers. They were seen as something the galaxy had never expected, dangerous, clever, and unstoppable. And somewhere deep in the stars, the name Dauntless began to spread. Not as a joke, but as a warning. The battle against the Varkeen Dominion had changed everything. News of the Dauntless spread across the galaxy like wildfire. At first, many didn't believe it. How could a broken, human-made scrap ship defeat 6 of the most powerful warships in known space? But the recordings didn't lie. The images of the Dauntless emerging from the wreckage, smoke trailing from its hull yet engines burning bright, were played on every galactic broadcast. And for the first time, humans were no longer invisible. In the grand halls of the Galactic Alliance, alien delegates whispered the same words over and over. Humans are dangerous. On the Dauntless, Captain Mira Holt watched the reports with quiet satisfaction. The bridge was alive with noise. Raffi repairing systems, Isha recalibrating sensors, and Jax humming while testing the thrusters. Raffi grinned as he tightened a bolt on a power relay. We're famous now, Captain. Every mechanic in the galaxy is talking about us, Mira smirked. Let's hope that doesn't get us killed. Isha looked up from her console. Actually, that's what I'm worried about. The Varkeen won't forget what we did. They'll come for us. They already are, Mira said calmly. But that's fine. We'll be ready. Jax leaned back in his chair. I just fixed the right engine. I'd prefer not to have it shut off again. Raffi laughed. Don't worry. If they do, we'll just build a better one out of their parts. The crew laughed together, the sound light and human. Simple joy in the middle of danger. That was what made them different. Other species built perfect ships. Humans built stories. A week later, the Dauntless docked at Station Arcturus, a massive floating hub used by the Galactic Alliance. When they entered the docking bay, everyone stopped to stare. Engineers, traders, and even soldiers turned their heads as the patched, scarred ship floated in. It looked like a mess, but it carried the reputation of a legend. An alien mechanic with long metallic limbs whispered, "That's the human ship, the one that beat the Varkeen." When Mira and her crew stepped out, dozens of eyes followed them. Some looked with respect, others with fear. An Alliance officer, a tall, blue-skinned being named Commander Rylan, approached them. His tone was polite but careful. "Captain Holt, the Council wishes to speak with you." Mira nodded. "Let me guess. They want to know how a ship made of junk defeated a fleet of warships." Rylan hesitated. "Something like that." The council chamber was enormous, filled with delegates from 100 different worlds. Mira stood at the center with her crew behind her. The alien voices filled the room, echoing like wind in a canyon. "Captain Holt," the council speaker said, "your actions at the border have created tension. The Varkeen Dominion claims you attacked them without cause." Mira's jaw tightened. "That's a lie. They ambushed us while we were protecting a civilian convoy." "Perhaps," the speaker replied, "but they demand your ship be surrendered for inspection. They say no human vessel could perform such feats without stolen technology," Jax whispered under his breath. "They think we cheated," Raffi muttered. "We did. We cheated death," Mira raised her chin. "The Dauntless is human-built from start to finish. If the Varkeen are embarrassed that a handful of humans beat them, that's not my problem." Murmurs spread across the room. Some delegates looked impressed. Others looked offended. The speaker's eyes narrowed. "Captain, your bravery is noted. But your ship now represents a political problem." Mira's voice remained calm. "Then maybe the problem isn't the ship. Maybe it's that humans aren't as weak as everyone thought." The chamber fell silent. For the first time, the Galactic Council had no answer. After the meeting, the crew gathered in the ship's mess hall. Aisha poured a cup of synth coffee and sighed. "The Council doesn't trust us. The Varkeen hate us. We've made enemies everywhere. That means we're doing something right," Raffi said with a grin. Mira looked thoughtful. "Still, we can't stay here. If the Council decides to hand us over, we're finished." "So what do we do?" Jax asked. Mira smiled slowly. "We go where humans always go when no one wants us around, somewhere new." Raffi raised an eyebrow. "Beyond Alliance space?" "Exactly," she said. "There's a region called the Drift Expanse. Uncharted, full of debris and old stations. Perfect place for people like us." Isha frowned. "That area's unstable. The maps say there are old war relics and strange energy storms." "Then it sounds like home," Mira said. "Prepare the ship. We leave tonight." By nightfall, the Dauntless detached from Station Arcturus and slipped quietly into the black sea of space. No escort, no permission, just courage and curiosity. As the station lights faded behind them, Jax said softly, "Do you think the galaxy will remember us?" Mira looked out the window. "They'll remember what we built, and they'll remember that we didn't bow." Days turned into weeks as they crossed into the Drift Expanse. The stars grew dimmer and strange signals filled their scanners. The region was silent, too silent. Abandoned ships floated like ghosts, old and forgotten from wars centuries ago. "This place feels haunted," Raffi said, checking his instruments. "Maybe," Aisha replied, "but there's something else here. Look at these readings, massive energy spikes ahead. Something's still active." Mira leaned forward. "Set course. Let's see what's hiding out there." As they approached, a shape emerged from the darkness, a colossal derelict battleship, bigger than anything they'd ever seen. Its hull was broken, but faint light still glowed deep inside. Jax whistled. "That thing's ancient. Must be from the First Galactic War." Raffi's eyes widened. "If even half of its systems work, it could change everything." Mira smiled. "Then let's wake it up." They docked cautiously and entered the silent giant. Inside, the air was cold and still. Dust floated in zero gravity, and the walls were covered in strange markings. The crew moved carefully through the dark corridors, flashlights cutting through the gloom. This tech is centuries old, Aisha whispered. But it's beautiful. Look at this, Raffi said, pointing at a large control core. It's still holding power. Mira placed her hand on the console. Let's see what secrets you've been keeping. Raffi connected his portable interface. Lights flickered to life across the room. Old systems hummed weakly as if waking from a long sleep. Then a voice, soft, metallic, ancient, spoke in an unknown language. Isha gasped. It's an AI, the voice repeated, this time clearer. Identify. Visitors, Mira spoke firmly. We're explorers, humans, we mean no harm. The AI paused. Then slowly it said, humans. Designation unknown in this cycle. You are not part of the archives. Guess we're new around here, Raffi said quietly. The AI's tone grew curious. You activated me. That means you claim this ship. Mira exchanged glances with her crew. We don't claim it. We want to learn from it. Learning. Acceptable, the AI said. But be warned. The systems of this vessel are not stable. Suddenly, alarms echoed through the ship. Power surged. The ground shook. What's happening? Jack shouted. Energy overload! Raffi yelled. The core's waking up too fast. Back to the Dauntless now, Mira commanded. They ran through the corridors as lights exploded around them. The moment they reached their ship, the massive battleship began to glow from within, a wave of power rippling through space. They launched just as the old ship came alive. Massive cannons along its hull flickered with energy. For a brief moment, it seemed like the entire drift expanse trembled. Captain, Isha said, voice filled with awe. That ship, it's waking the others. Mira turned to the viewport. All across the expanse, ancient warships were powering up, reactors glowing like suns in the dark. What did we just start? Raffi whispered. Mira stared at the spreading light and said softly, maybe a new chapter for humanity. As the Dauntless flew through the glowing field of ancient ships, the crew realized something powerful. They had entered a place where the old galaxy had died, and maybe humans were the only ones bold enough to bring it back to life. The drift expanse burned with light. One by one, ancient warships came alive, their engines glowing faintly like blue stars in the endless dark. For centuries they had slept, silent and forgotten. Now, because of one small human ship, the Dauntless, they were waking up. Inside the Dauntless, alarms blared. Raffi was shouting from the engineering deck. Captain! Energy levels in the expanse are rising fast. It's spreading through the whole region. Dr. Aisha Verma stared at her monitor, eyes wide. It's like a chain reaction. That old AI we woke up, it's sending a signal to the others. Mira Holt stood at the front of the bridge, her face lit by the flickering light of the screens. Are we in danger? Yes, Isha said softly. But I think so is everyone else. Outside, massive ships moved like sleeping giants disturbed from their dreams. Their designs were unlike anything modern, their hulls carved with strange patterns, their engines glowing with unknown energy. Some of these ships are thousands of years old, Raffi said, awed. They're from before the First Galactic War. Then why are they still working? Jax asked. Because something kept them alive, Isha replied. Something that doesn't die easily. Mira turned toward the ancient flagship that started it all, the one they had entered earlier. That AI, she said. It's not just a program. It's part of a system designed to defend something. Defend what? Jax asked. The drift, Mira said. Maybe this whole sector. The AI's voice returned through the comms, faint, echoing across frequencies. Warning. System awakening. Foreign presence detected. Intruders must be contained. Mira frowned. We're not intruders. We came here by accident. But the AI didn't respond. Instead, the ancient ships began to move. Slowly at first, then faster, forming a massive circle around the Dauntless. They're locking on to us, Isha shouted. Weapons charging. Raffi's hands flew across the controls. Shields up. Reactor stable. Mira's heart pounded. They think we're a threat. We need to show them we're not. Jack shook his head. They're machines, Captain. They don't listen. Then we make them listen, she said firmly. The Dauntless dodged as beams of energy streaked past. Each blast was powerful enough to vaporize a cruiser, but Mira's small ship weaved between them like a dancer among giants. Evasive pattern Alpha, she commanded. Jax twisted the controls, sending the Dauntless spinning between the hulks of ancient ships. Metal fragments flew past. The ship shook violently, but it held together. Captain! Raffi yelled. If we take one direct hit, we're done. Noted, she replied calmly. Aisha, try to talk to that AI. Use the same signal frequency we used before. I'll try, Isha said, typing fast. If it's a defense system, maybe it'll recognize our voice. Outside, another explosion rocked the stars. The Dauntless rolled, dodging flaming debris. Status? Mira asked. Shields at 40%, Raffi said. Hull integrity, let's just say it's not good. Keep her together, Mira said. The Dauntless has been through worse. Inside the chaos, Isha's console suddenly flickered. Wait, something's responding. Put it on audio, Mira said. The AI's voice filled the bridge again. Identify. Species, human. Classification, non-archived. You are not part of the directive. We didn't mean to activate you, Mira said, keeping her tone calm. We came here searching for knowledge. This region is restricted. Trespassers will be neutralized. We don't want to fight, she insisted. We want to help. There was silence for a moment. Then the voice changed slightly, curious, almost thoughtful. Help, explain, Mira smiled slightly. We found you forgotten, broken. We gave you power again. Isn't that help? The AI paused. The attack stopped. Raffi blinked. Did that just work? Maybe, Isha whispered. I think it's listening. You restored this vessel. You awakened the fleet. The directive must continue. What directive? Mira asked. Defense of the core. The core? She repeated. What is it? Origin of life. And end of war. The last command of the founders. The voice faded, and a map appeared on their main screen, a glowing pattern of stars leading deep into uncharted space. Jax whistled softly. Looks like we just got invited to history's biggest secret, but the moment didn't last. A warning light blinked on the console. Captain, Raffi shouted. Incoming warp signatures. Multiple ships. The screen showed several Varkeen warships dropping out of warp near the edge of the drift expanse. Their sleek hulls glimmered in the faint light. Mira's face hardened. They followed us. The Varkeen flagship hailed them. Commander Threx's voice echoed coldly across the bridge. Captain Holt, you've led us right to something valuable. For that I should thank you. Mira crossed her arms. You're trespassing, Threx. This region isn't yours. It will be, he said. Those ancient ships, you woke them, didn't you? I can see the energy readings from here. Whatever technology they hold will belong to the Dominion. You don't understand, Mira said. They're not weapons. They're guardians, Threx laughed. Then let's see how well they guard when we take what's theirs. He cut the transmission. Moments later, the Varkeen fleet fired on the ancient ships. Bright blue plasma bolts struck the nearest hull, tearing chunks of metal apart. The entire expanse reacted instantly. The Ghost Fleet turned as one, their weapons charging again, but this time they weren't targeting the Dauntless. They were targeting the invaders. Raffi, Isha, record everything, Mira ordered. We need proof of what happens here. The ancient ships unleashed their fury. Beams of light cut across the stars, striking the Varkeen ships one by one. Explosions rippled through the darkness. The Dominion fleet tried to fight back, but their weapons were useless against the old giant's shields. Threx's ship dodged and weaved, firing wildly. Impossible! His voice echoed across the comms. These ships are thousands of years old. How? Mira's voice came cold and quiet. Because someone built them to last. But even as the Ghost Fleet fought, the energy field around the expanse began to grow unstable. Shockwaves rippled through space. Isha's console flashed red. Captain! The old reactors can't handle this much activity. The whole region could collapse. Can we shut them down? Mira asked. Not all at once, Isha said. But if we overload the command node we activated before, it might trigger a system-wide reset. Meaning? Meaning we could turn them off. Or blow up everything within 100,000 kilometers. Raffi looked at her. That's a great plan. It's the only plan, Mira said. Set a course for the flagship. The Dauntless dove through the chaos. Burning ships drifted around them, both Varkeen and ancient alike. The sky was full of fire and debris. The crew worked in perfect rhythm, every move precise. Engines at full power, Raffi said. Shields at minimum, Jax added. We'll need all energy for the jump. AI channel open, Isha said. I'll try to warn it before we overload the node. Mira nodded. Good. Let's give them a choice, to sleep or to die. They reached the flagship's heart once again. The great AI core pulsed with light. As they approached, the voice filled their ship again. "Human vessel, you must leave. The directive cannot end." Mira's voice was firm but gentle. "If you don't stop, you'll destroy everything. The directive will mean nothing. Directive is survival." "Then listen," she said. "Sometimes survival means rest. You've protected long enough." The AI hesitated. Its lights flickered uncertainly. Then it said softly, "Will you protect?" Mira looked at her crew. "We will." The lights dimmed. The energy levels dropped sharply. "Captain," Aisha said, "it's working." Rafi grinned. "She did it." But just as relief filled the room, a Varkeen cruiser, Threx's ship, fired a final desperate shot. The blast hit the ancient flagship, cracking open its hull. The shockwave threw the Dauntless spinning. "Engines offline," Jax shouted. "We're caught in the pull." Mira held onto her seat. "Stabilize us!" "I'm trying." The Dauntless trembled, metal groaning as the energy storm closed around them. The ghost fleet began to fall silent one by one, sinking back into stillness. "Captain," Aisha cried. "If we don't get out now, we'll be trapped with them." Mira looked at the glowing remains of the AI core. Then she whispered, "Not today. Rafi, emergency jump." "Any direction!" Rafi slammed the control. The engines screamed and the Dauntless vanished in a flash of light. Moments later, silence returned to the drift expanse. The ghost fleet slept once more, guarding its secrets in the dark. The only sign of life left was a faint echo, the whisper of a human ship that refused to die. The Dauntless reappeared in a burst of light, far from the burning chaos of the drift expanse. Its hull was cracked, its engines groaning, and half of its systems were offline. But it was still alive. Somehow, against all odds, the little human ship had survived. For a long moment, the crew sat in silence. Only the soft hum of the backup engines filled the air. Then Rafi laughed quietly, his voice tired but full of relief. "We made it." Mira Holt leaned back in her command chair, feeling the weight of every decision she had made. Her uniform was torn, her hands trembling slightly. But she smiled. "Yes," she said softly. "We did." Outside the viewport, the stars stretched endlessly, cold and distant. No one spoke for several minutes. They were all trying to process what had happened. The ghost fleet, the ancient AI, the Varkeen attack, and the narrow escape that had nearly destroyed them. Isha was the first to break the silence. "The energy readings are stable. The drift expanse has gone quiet." Mira nodded slowly. "So the fleet's gone back to sleep." "It seems so," Aisha said. "Whatever we did, it shut down the activation sequence." Rafi smiled faintly. "Guess the old Guardians are finally resting?" "Maybe," Mira said. "But they're not gone. They're waiting." Hours later, after emergency repairs, the Dauntless drifted in orbit above a small, quiet moon. The crew was exhausted but alive. Jack sat at the helm, looking out at the stars. "Captain," he said, "you think the galaxy will believe what we just saw?" Mira chuckled softly. "No, not until they see it for themselves." "They'll call us liars," Rafi added. "Let them," Mira replied. "We know the truth." Isha turned from her console. "I've recorded everything. The entire battle, the AI's messages, the energy readings, all of it. The Galactic Council will have to listen." Rafi smirked. "You really think they'll thank us for waking an ancient fleet and nearly starting another war?" Mira smiled faintly. "Probably not. But they'll know humanity isn't to be underestimated." A few hours later, the communication console blinked. "Incoming transmission," Isha said. "It's from the Galactic Council." Mira sighed. "Let's see what they want." The screen flickered, revealing Admiral Viren, an old, sharp-eyed woman with silver hair and a stern face. "Captain Holt," she said, her tone clipped. "We received your report. It's extraordinary." "Yes, ma'am," Mira replied. "Every word is true." The Admiral stared at her. "You entered a restricted sector, made contact with an unknown AI system, and unleashed a fleet capable of destroying entire armadas. Then you claim you calmed it down." Mira's lips curved slightly. "That's one way to put it," Viren sighed. "The Council doesn't know whether to promote you or arrest you. Maybe both?" Rafi muttered under his breath. Mira ignored him. "We did what we had to, Admiral. If the Varkeen Dominion had gained control of that technology, the entire galaxy would be at war." The Admiral was silent for a long moment. Then she said quietly, "You're right. The Council owes you, and your crew. But this incident never happened. Officially, the Dauntless was on a deep space survey. You understand? Yes, ma'am. And Captain? Viren added. Good work. Humanity needs people like you. The transmission ended. Raffi leaned back in his chair, grinning. So we save the galaxy and they erase us from the record. Classic. That's fine, Mira said. We didn't do it for credit, Jack smiled. Then why did we do it? Mira looked out at the stars. Because someone had to. Days passed as they repaired the Dauntless. The ship was a patchwork of scorched plates and salvaged circuits, yet it still flew strong. It was a symbol now of what humans could do with almost nothing. They had been given scrap, and they turned it into a legend. Isha was studying the final readings from the expanse. You know what's strange? She said. That AI, it stopped fighting the moment we promised to protect. It believed us. Of course it did, Raffi said. Humans might be small, but when we give our word, we keep it. Mira nodded. And maybe that's what makes us different. The founders built machines to guard forever, but we choose when to fight and when to stop. Later, when the ship was ready to move again, Mira gathered the crew in the mess hall. The small room smelled faintly of coffee and metal. The lights flickered softly overhead. Listen, Mira began, her voice calm and steady. We've been through something no one will believe. But that doesn't matter. What matters is what comes next. Back to base? Jax asked. Eventually, she said. But not yet. The AI showed us something, a map. Raffi's eyes widened. You mean that star chart it sent before the fight? Mira nodded. The core, it said it's the origin of life. And the end of war. Isha frowned. Do you really think it exists? I don't know, Mira said. But if it does, maybe it's something worth finding. Raffi laughed. You want to go chasing another ancient mystery? Didn't we almost die last time? Almost, Mira said with a grin. But not quite. The crew exchanged glances. Despite their exhaustion, they smiled. Somehow the idea of another impossible mission didn't sound so bad anymore. As the Dauntless prepared for departure, Mira stood alone on the bridge, watching the stars. Her reflection shimmered in the glass, tired eyes, a scar on her cheek, and a quiet pride that couldn't be hidden. She remembered the first day she saw the Dauntless. It had been a broken, unwanted ship, a pile of rust and wires given to her as a joke. The engineers had called it a scrapyard mistake, but now that same ship had faced ancient weapons, fought alien fleets, and survived the impossible. It had done more than survive, it had changed everything. She whispered softly. They gave us scrap. And we made it the most dangerous ship in the galaxy. A soft hum echoed through the hull as the engines came online. The stars outside stretched as they prepared for warp. Course set, Jack said. Unknown coordinates, deep space, Mira nodded. Then let's see what's out there. Jumping in 3, 2, 1. The Dauntless leapt forward, vanishing into a tunnel of light. Epilogue months later, stories began to spread across the galaxy. Rumors of a small patchwork ship that had fought entire fleets and lived. Some said it was a ghost ship. Others claimed it carried ancient technology. A few whispered that it had a mind of its own, awakened by human hands. The Varkeen Dominion feared it. Pirates avoided it, and traders told tales of seeing its faint engine trail vanish into the black. To most, it was only a story, a legend. But to those who had seen it, it was proof that sometimes the smallest spark could light the darkest sky. On a distant world, an old terminal flickered to life deep in an abandoned station. The same AI voice spoke softly, almost fondly. Human vessel, Dauntless. Directive transferred. Guardianship accepted. A faint glow spread through the screens, forming the image of the small ship moving through space. The AI watched quietly. Protect well. Human. Then it faded back into silence. Far away, the Dauntless continued her journey. Through storms, through shadows, through the endless dark, she moved with purpose and pride. Her crew laughed, argued, fixed broken wires, and faced every danger together. They didn't know what awaited them at the end of the map. But they didn't need to, because they were human, and that was enough. The year was 2459. Humanity had just joined the Galactic Union, a massive alliance of hundreds of alien civilizations spread across the stars. For the first time, humans could walk among other intelligent species, learn from them, and trade freely between worlds. It should have been a proud moment for Earth. But not everyone saw it that way. When the Union accepted Earth, they did not greet humanity as equals. The other species looked at humans as backward and primitive. To them, Earth was a small, unimportant planet that had only recently discovered faster-than-light travel. The great empires of the galaxy had existed for thousands of years. They had massive fleets, powerful weapons, and technologies that humans could only dream of, so when the Union offered Earth its first starship, it was meant as a joke. The ship they gave was not new, not special, and not even functional. It was a pile of metal barely holding itself together, a decommissioned cargo hauler from some forgotten age. The hull was cracked. The engines were missing parts. The control systems barely turned on. To the aliens, it was a harmless gesture. To the humans, it was an insult. Captain Elias Ward stood on the landing deck of Earth's new space dock, staring at the massive wreck in front of him. The ship was called SCR-0113, though the faded letters on its side now only read CRA. It looked like a rusted whale floating in zero gravity. His crew gathered behind him, engineers, pilots and scientists from all over Earth. They had been chosen to represent humanity in space. Elias knew what they were all thinking. "This is what they think of us," said Sarah Lynn, his chief engineer. "They hand us junk and expect us to smile." Elias smiled, but it wasn't a friendly one. "Then we'll make them regret it." The others looked at him in surprise. He turned toward the ship again, eyes sharp and determined. "They gave us scrap," he said quietly. "Let's show them what humans can do with it." The next few months were chaos. The SCRA was a nightmare of broken systems and mismatched parts. Its engines were of alien design, far too advanced for Earth's engineers to understand. The control systems didn't match human computers. Even the power core was damaged beyond normal repair. But humans had something the aliens didn't: creativity, stubbornness, and a love for solving impossible problems. Sarah spent nights inside the ship's engine room, covered in grease and surrounded by humming alien machines. She studied every circuit, every broken wire, and every strange pattern on the walls. Sometimes she had to rebuild parts using human tools. Sometimes she invented her own solutions. When she couldn't fix a component, she replaced it entirely, with something new. Old human fusion reactors scavenged warship parts and recycled materials from destroyed satellites. All of it went into the SCRA. The aliens called it junk engineering. The humans called it innovation. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew worked on upgrading the ship's defenses. The aliens had left behind a weak shield system, barely enough to block small asteroids. But the human weapons team found ways to connect it to old railgun capacitors and Earth's newest magnetic generators. What they created wasn't beautiful, but it worked. The ship's shields became stronger than any expected. One night, as Sarah ran another test on the engines, the ship came to life. The lights flickered across the control room, and the deep rumble of power echoed through the corridors. The human crew cheered. The SCRA, now proudly renamed the Valkyrie, was alive again. Months turned into a year. The Valkyrie underwent test flights across the solar system. It was faster than any human-built ship before. Its systems, though built from spare parts, worked together perfectly. The engines burned with blue fire as the ship glided across the void. Then came the day of the Union. Inspection. Every new member species had to prove they could operate safely in space before being allowed full rights. In the Galactic Union, the humans were scheduled to show their ship in orbit around Titan, where dozens of alien observers waited. Most aliens expected the humans to fail. Some even came just to laugh. When the Valkyrie appeared on the scanners, it caused confusion. The ship didn't match any known design. Its hull was dark and sleek, reinforced with strange human alloys. The energy readings were higher than expected. "What is that?" one alien asked. "That's not the scrap ship we gave them." Captain Elias's voice came over the communication line, calm and proud. "This is the human starship Valkyrie, ready for inspection." The Valkyrie moved like a predator in space. It turned faster than any freighter should. It accelerated with power that seemed impossible for a vessel of its size. The human crew watched the alien ships with quiet confidence. Elias gave the command. "Test weapons. Firing sequence Alpha." The railguns roared to life. Blue streaks of plasma shot across space, hitting a group of test drones placed by the Union. Every drone was destroyed in a single blast. The observers went silent. Then Sarah activated the shield system. The Valkyrie glowed with a golden field as it absorbed simulated fire from the alien inspectors. The energy bounced harmlessly off. For a long time, there was only silence on the communication channels. Finally, one alien officer spoke, his tone uncertain. "That ship should not be capable of such performance? You were given outdated parts," Elias smiled. "We were," he said simply. "But humans don't waste gifts." News of the Valkyrie spread across the galaxy. Some species were impressed. Others were alarmed. How could a young race like humanity take a pile of scrap and build something that rivaled advanced fleets? Behind closed doors, the alien leaders began to whisper. "Humans are unpredictable," one said. "They build monsters out of garbage," said another. "They could be dangerous." On Earth, the people celebrated. The Valkyrie had become a symbol of what humanity stood for: resilience, creativity, and courage. Children painted its image on walls. Engineers studied its systems, eager to learn from it. But Captain Elias knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was not kind to new powers, and somewhere out there, others were already watching the Valkyrie with fear and envy. Standing at the observation window, Elias watched the stars drift by. The ship hummed quietly around him, alive and strong. Sarah joined him, wiping oil from her hands. "Do you think they'll leave us alone now?" she asked. He shook his head. "No," he said softly. "They'll test us. They'll want to know what else humans can do." Sarah smiled faintly. "Then we'll show them." The captain looked out into the darkness, his eyes filled with quiet fire. "They gave us scrap," he murmured again. "Let's make the galaxy remember that."